Welcome. In this video, we move on to Chapter 6 of The Haunting of Dale in the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth game. So down at the table, we are ready for Chapter 6, Treachery in the King's Court. So we will continue down to our story here. So the citizens of Dale are in shock as King Bane mysteriously falls ill. Treachery is suspected within the estate's walls, but there is so many possible traitors and poisons that King Bane trusts only you to find the truth. This will be a battle map. Note the adventure will require deduction. So confirming. Alright, we might have some items. Nope, looks like we're good there. We've got 7 experience. So we've got enough to go back to get the cards we had earlier before we went and got the bigger XP items. So we still have defense instruction and now ready defense. Or final defense is what we have. And then for Legolas, got on the hunt, going for the Falcon Companion. And moving on from our campfire, Stand Guardians and Hunters. Alright, the streets of Dale run thick with anxiety as you approach the king's residence. Dale's people gather before the estate's walls in a silent vigil, some holding candles as they wait for news of the health of their beloved king. As you make your way down the street, you can feel the suspicion and dread in the air. With Ursa rallying her forces against Dale, King Bane's absence puts the city in peril. So placing battle maps. So let me rearrange here. Alright, continuing on, got our battle maps out. Guards are wary to let anyone in after the incident, but after a while a tired messenger arrives to escort you to King Bane. She leads you through the estate, past panicking servants and wary guardsmen to a set of large doors. She opens the door, leading you to the king's personal quarters. The place of heroes is indicated, and we each scout 2. And so we are going to be situated there. And shuffle our decks. Of course, we've got You Cannot Pass started and Resourceful for Legolas. Restless Axe and Undying Might. We will put the success on top and Undying Might over here. And on this side for Legolas. Let's see. We'll prep Ancient Wisdom and put in Precise Strike on top. Looks like a table has fallen next to us. Serving table bears plates from the king's noontime meal. And we've got a bush inside. So the bush, after you end your turn in a space with the bush, you can test wit. If you pass, become hidden. And the table, you may interact with it to test spirit. If you pass, gain an inspiration and become emboldened. Interacting with the table does not provoke attacks. Moving on. Flowering bush in a director pot sits against the wall. Small window looks into the night. Get a search token at the window. And 2 walls and a fire pit. So walls are just saying they're not adjacent to nearby areas, and the fire pit, if you attack while in a space with a fire pit, may discard a card with fate from a test to add pierce or smite. See, warms the room, sending deep shadows across the marble floor. Another table. A goblet of wine sits on the desk. It seems to have spilled at one point, dots of purple littering the papers around it. And we get a search token. Chair sits on its side before the desk. It has a conspicuous hole in its padded armrest. Candelabra stands in the corner of the room, candles unlit. We get a search token in the corner. Bookshelf overflowing with books looms over the room as indicated. And a tall, broad-shouldered man guards the king. He holds his battle axe in front of him, sharp eyes peering out of craggy and weathered face. Get a person token in that location. Woman in a white uniform crushes some of the herb with a mortar and pestle before pouring the mixture into a jar of liquid and stirring. Get another person token. And an elderly man paces back and forth. He has the look of a traditional academic. Glasses on the tip of his nose and fingertips blackened with ink. Place a person token. This is Varric, the royal advisor. And an elf bearing the look of Mirkwood leans against the wall. Firelight glints in their eyes as they watch over the room. We get an elf in that spot. This is Treewath, the elf. King Bane sits in a large chair in front of the fireplace, obviously ill after his near brush with death. Get another person token with the king next to the fire pit. We're lucky you were found when you were, my liege, the nurse sighs as she hands the king what you presume to be medicine. Even just a few moments more, and I fear I would now be readying you for your burial mound. I am heartened to be tending to your person instead. So King Bane accepts the draught. With any luck, my burial mound will not be made for many years yet. May the duty of sewing my shroud never fall to you, dear Mary. King tries for levity, but the mood is ruined as he groans with pain. The king's advisor, Varric, takes the draught from the king's hand and sniffs it suspiciously before throwing it in the fire. Can't just drink anything people hand you, sir. Someone just tried to poison you. He whirls to send a scathing look at the guard and the nurse, pointing an arthritic and ink-stained finger toward them. And where were you two when the king collapsed? How could this whole blasted estate be empty just when our liege needed you most? Were you in on it? Did you poison the king's food, his wine? Confess. Asgrim's brow furrows. As much as I hate to admit it, the king's advisor may have a point regarding the technique of our would-be killer. Wasn't the king pricked by attack in his chair this morning? Otherwise, I suppose he could have inhaled poison somehow. He does have candles near his desk after all. Whatever way it happened, the attempted killer must have been someone who had access both to the item poison as well as the poison itself. Treewath's brow furrowed, so if we find which one of you had access to the poison item as well as which of you had access to the poison used, we'll find the killer. Varric pins the elf with a scathing look, shaking an arthritic ink-stinging finger. I don't think you've escaped suspicion. Pray tell me, how many poisons grow under the dark leaves of Mirkwood, and have any of them found their way to the king by your hands? And the elf puts a hand to the hilt of the sword. By my blade, what reason have you to point idle fingers? There is no reason the elves of Mirkwood would want your king dead. We enjoy our solitude, it's true, but we have no love for Dale's enemies. Was I not the one who found your king in peril and sought aid? You show the folly of your own character by attempting to sully mine. Varric flushes and opens his mouth to issue a scathing retort, but it's stopped by King Bane entirely raising his hand. Both of you, calm yourselves. Bickering now is pointless. King Bane now beckons you close before whispering in your ear. I do not remember much of what transpired this day, but I know what my would-be killer is among those in this room, as only they had access to my quarters. Find out which one of them was in a room with me when I was poisoned and who had access to that poison. I would normally never question their loyalty, but Ursa has ample magic to twist minds or possess bodies. However, without proof, I won't keep these people here past dawn. Find the culprit and be wary. Must find the manner in which the king was poisoned, as well as identify the poison in order to find the would-be killer. Speak to King Bane, as well as the other witnesses or suspects, in order to gain important clues. You may wish to keep notes. When you are ready to name the culprit, come to King Bane to have them arrested. So we need to find the poisoned item and the poison used. Triwatch seems shocked when they see Legolas, my liege. They bow, looking at Legolas through the curtain of their dark hair. I am overjoyed to see you. I had heard of your presence in Dale, but I did not realize you were one of the heroes they spoke of doing great deeds here. They smile. Perhaps with you here, reason shall finally prevail. And finally, our action phase. Well, the first thing we're going to do is try to make room for a permanent spot for this thing to sit that's not in the way of everything else. And I think that spot doesn't block anything other than me reaching that stack of cards. Okay. We are going to start with Legolas, doing a move action, and then interact with the king, I believe it was. So ask about his symptoms, ask about poisons, arrest the culprit. We're going to ask about symptoms. And he sighs, rubbing a hand across his head. I feel warm, far too warm, like I am boiling alive in my skin. Continue. Perhaps now that you know the king's symptoms, you can identify the poison used in the attacks. Scout 2 and gain an inspiration. So probably won't need the agility, but we will prepare that and put precise strike back on top. And gain an inspiration. And we're going to use one of our depletion tokens with our heirloom handkerchief. After you interact with a person token, you may deplete this item to gain an inspiration, become determined, and perform an additional action. So spending one token, gain an inspiration, become determined. When you test, you may discard the spoon to discard any number of cards from the test and reveal that many additional cards. And perform another action. We're going to ask about the poisons. Can't say I know much about poisons, but there should be a book on a shelf that can help you gain an inspiration. So then we'll go with Gimli. He's going to move over and speak with Varric. Tell me about the king's day. He glares at you, and why, pray tell, are you asking? A sharp look comes over his eyes, and he points to the tip of feather quill at you, threatening. The motion splatters ink onto his already stained sleeves. You're not a spy, are you? We need to test our wisdom, which is 2. And I've got nothing to help me with that. So we did not pass. Jabs his quill at you. I know what you are. Vultures circling, carrion crows flying as they smell misfortune. I bet you're only here to ingratiate yourselves to the king when he lays ill. Well, I won't have it. He then turns away from you decisively. Well, that's our turns. So ending the action phase into the shadow phase. Each gain an inspiration. Threat increases by 4. Varric points an accusing finger at the elf. Arrest the elf already. Have we not suffered the presence of an attempted murder long enough? If they're an emissary of the Lord of the Wood, then I'm a goblin's uncle. Triwath smiles tightly at Varric. Very nice that you resemble your kin. With that remark, Varric pulls out his weapon, and Triath responds in kind. Someone must stop the fight. The elf has a dagger at the advisor's throat, and the advisor has a sword to the elf's stomach. The closest hero to Triwath and Varric tests their might, which is a right person. He's got a might of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can spin this for 1 success. So we failed. This could be quick. Shoving your way into the fight ensures that only your blood is spilled. King Bane stands on shaky legs and bellows enough. Varric and Trilath drop their weapons and King returns to his seat. King Bane shakes his head. I swear there is madness spreading among us that my most trusted advisor and emissary of King Thandrul would act like this. Suffer 2 damage. Well, we will go ahead and use our You Cannot Pass, guard, discard to prevent up to 3 for a hero in our space. So to the rally phase, reset our decks, and scout 2. All right, ready defense and final. New or nearby hero performs the last stand. You may discard this to add to it. Or when you test a negate, we get an auto success. That's the one we'll prepare, and we'll put that back on top. And over here, face that the right direction. Immortality, time of need, we will prep that and put this on the bottom. All right, action phase. We will start with Gimli. 1, 2 for movement. And inspect the armrest. Need to test our wisdom. Somehow just don't feel like he's the one for this mission we need. We got 1. We'll make it 2 so we are successful. Search but did not find anything suspicious. There's no discoloration, no odd smells, and the attack is clean of any sort of residue. And rather than being added maliciously, it seems that the attack simply wore through the armrest slowly after long years of use. However, the king was poisoned. It was not by the attack. You may prepare 1 card from your discard pile. Do not reveal any successes. You may discard this. All right, we'll prep time of need. Then we're going to use Legolas's ability to spend 1 to move a space. And then he's going to interact with the other elf. Ask about the king's day. Gives you a flat look. I want to trust you, I really do, but please understand that I'm in a tight spot at the moment. Keeping some select information to myself may be the only way as gate punishment if the advisor decides to lay undue blame on me. As a stranger, I'm the easiest target. So we need to test spirit, but we get to add 1 success since we're an elf. But his spirit is 2. We got 1 success plus that, so we passed that test. All right, here's what I can tell you. He leans closer, heard that the king couldn't find the usual box of candles when dusk came, so it was either Varric or Asgrim who supplied the candle that was lit in the evening. Just another thing to think about. Gain a boon of your choice. I guess we'll try hidden. If you are attacked, before you test, prevent all damage and discard this boon. When you attack, you may discard this boon to add a success. And then we have a second action. We're going to ask what his business is here. He huffs, I was sitting here to speak with King Bane. King Thandrul knows of the current difficulties the city has been pressed with and wished to extend his hand in help. He folds his arms. Perhaps if the elves of Mirkwood had been entrusted with the chalice instead of the dwarves, it would still be as safe now. Their smile looks somewhat forced. We will inform the dwarves of Erebor of our sincerest regrets. Since the elf a dry look, that means they've been here flitting about and drinking wine instead of Thandrils. Troath gives him a dry look. Oh, believe me, if I had a choice, I wouldn't be drinking your wine nor suffering your company. Gain an inspiration. And that's going to be everyone's turn. So Gimli gains an inspiration since someone else is full. Threat increases. Tension in the room grows thicker. Asgrim runs a sharpening stone against the blade of his axe, glaring suspiciously at you. The others in the room, whether he is especially diligent about maintaining his weapon or deliberately threatening you, is uncertain. Each hero suffers 2 face-down fear, with wit negating. So for Legolas, that's going to be 3. And he's got 2 successes, so he's going to be fine. And while our wit is 2, with our ring mail, whenever we go to test wisdom, spirit, or wit, we can test might instead. So that's going to be 4. And we've got 2 successes there, plus the 1 there if needed. All right, rally phase. Reset and scout 2. So Gimli's options, ready defense. We're just going to put a success on top and the weakness on the bottom. And for Legolas, we're going to put both those on top. So action phase. Let's see, I feel like we asked him everything. Yep. Where was the candle? Was that it? Yep. So we're going to use Legolas, moving 2 to inspect the candle. And you inspect one of the candles, turning it over in your hands and giving it a decisive sniff. Seems like a good way to poison ourselves. Wisdom 3, add 1 if you have a herbalist card prepared. We do not. We need 2 successes, which we already know we've got. You find singed herbs around the top of the candle near the wick, as if sprinkled over the top and allowed to burn. The smell of them sickly and unwholesome, undoubtedly poison. Someone added poison to the candle, which was released into the air as it burned. Who was in the room when the candles were lit? You may prepare 1 card from the discard pile. Don't think we're going to need to strike. Well, just in case we need to. Nope. Keeping our successes in there. Now that you've found the poison item, you must identify the poison used. Let's see, is that done with then? And what was that? Yeah, we were told to look through the books. So Gimli will come over here and look in the bookshelf. There's a dizzying assortment of books in almost every language of Middle-earth. We need to test our wit, needing 2 to pass. 1 success, 2 success. So we pass. Find a book regarding the effects of various poisons. Lore increases and we gain an inspiration. 2 pages of the book are a particular note to you. Elmafume causes dizziness, but it has some medicinal uses, often used in the making of inks. Gallows weed causes tremors of the body, has some medicinal uses, and is common in Markwood. Lungwort causes one to cough and is common in Markwood, often used in making of ink. Silverbell causes temporary blindness and is common in Markwood. It's often provided to guards or soldiers in small doses to help keep them awake over long hours. All right. Rune bloom causes fever and is often used in the making of ink. It is often provided to guards or soldiers in small doses to help keep them awake over long hours. And Narsoma causes headaches, but it has some medicinal uses. It is often provided to guards or soldiers in small doses to keep them awake over long hours. Players may tap this token at any time to review this information. Well, it seems like everything's referring to ink, which kind of points to that guy, I think it was. You found which item was poison, and you have identified the specific poison used in the attack on King Bane. This information, you can now figure out who the true culprit is. Arrest the culprit. But all of our actions are used up. So we end the action phase into the shadows. Each hero gains an inspiration, or at least Gimli. Threat goes up by 4. King's advisor and the nurse begins to bicker over another medication. Varric pushes Mary's hands away and declares, "I'm not letting the king drink anything until we find the would-be killer." The nurse growls under her breath, "Well, he won't be drinking anything at all if he takes ill and dies." King Bane turns to Legolas for counsel in this matter. "I trust your wisdom in this. If you have any suspicions, I will abstain from drinking the nurse's elixir for now. Heroes must decide how to counsel the King Bane. Should he take the elixir or not?" I'm saying take it. King takes your advice. Drinking the medicine, a healthy parlor returns to his complexion. Gain an inspiration. But Legolas is full. So rally phase. We reset and scout 2. Wit and wisdom. We will prep the wit. Put the other on the bottom. And then for Legolas, let's see, you may discard this to apply 3 hits and pierce to a nearby enemy. Put that on top and we'll get rid of the agility and prepper Falcon Companion. And to the action phase, let's see, yeah, we weren't successful on. So what we're going to do is spin for free movement. And then movement of 2. And ask him about his day. And why, pray tell, are you asking? A sharp look comes over his eyes. We need to test his wisdom of 3. And we have ancient wisdom prepped. But we'll just spend this to give us our 2 successes. Old man takes a handkerchief from his pocket and wipes his brow. All right, fine then. Here's what I can tell you. He rubs ink-stained hands together, his eyes flickering back and forth as he thinks. Now that you mention it, it was Mary and Asgrim who were in the room just before the king was pricked by the tack in the chair. We would have noticed the tack last night, surely, and there were none in the room before then. Yes, I believe you must keep an eye on them if anything is wrong with the tack. Gain an inspiration. And we can prepare a card from our discard pile. We'll put Clever Wit up. So you got his free movement, then took a real movement and interacted. And let's see, yes, he already looked at that. Gimli's going to use one of his movement to go there. Take a look at the table. Goblin Wine sits on the writing desk. We'll inspect that. Need to test our wit. Is 2. 0 successes. We fail. Nothing piques our interest, and then we'll finish our movement there. That's going to end our action phase. Then shadow phase. Gain inspiration. He's +1 because of his silver circlet. And then Asgrim begins to breathe heavily, his eyes darting around as if looking for an escape. I don't have time for this. My wife has been left alone for far too long. She's sick. And with both the nurse and myself here, she is without care. Here closest to Asgrim must attempt to calm him down. And that is going to be Gimli, testing his wisdom. Needing 2 to succeed, and that's not going to do it. Let's see. When you test, if you do not reveal any, you may discard this skill to convert. Yeah, that's not going to help us either. Yep, he'll just fail. Calm down, you say. He shoulders his axe. I am perfectly calm. He strikes at a nearby vase, sending shatters of sharp pottery throughout the room. The others in the room yelp and duck. Asram stares at his hands as if he is astonished at his actions. Threat increases by 2. Each hero suffers a face-down damage. Then our rally phase, scouting 2. All right, unyielding spirit and ancient wisdom. We will put that one on the bottom. Get rid of the might and prepare the wisdom. And over here, just put both those on the bottom. All right. Even though I feel like I have the right person here, we're going to continue to question. Smells tightly rubbing his hands together. He notices that his fingernails are blackened with ink. I manage the trade contract between Dale and Erebor, as well as the more remote villages. I handle taxes and tithes and allocate money. I even make the ink used by myself and the royal scribes. He holds up his nose. In short, other than the king, I'm the only one keeping this blasted place together. Mary puts a hand to her forehead and pretends to swoon. Oh, brave Varric, she continues sarcastically. Without him, who will ponder over paper? Without him, who will spill ink and not notice it until they've tracked it halfway around the estate? Without him, who will drink all the wine and complain bitterly of his great burdens to all who will listen? Varric growls and his hands balling into fist. Gain an inspiration and prepare a card from your discard pile. But nothing in our discard pile. But then we are going to, after we hit continue, spend 1 to move. And say arrest the culprit. And we're saying it's Varric. King Bane sits in front of his fireplace, looking wary. Tell me, what is your counsel in this matter? We're going with Varric. Darkness comes over Varric's eyes, and darkness drips from the man's mouth, staining his teeth as he smiles. See, this body has outlived its usefulness. Varric arcs back, and with a sickening crunch of bone, as darkness escapes his body. Darkness coalesces into a figure. Useless, she hisses, her eyes burning like coals. Ursa turns to face you, the light from the fireplace flickering through her spectral form. Perhaps if I cannot kill your king, I will wear his skin instead. Place Ursa as indicated, and now our objective is to kill her. I fear Ursa's miniature has been permanently lost. So we will put this in there. Just as when you faced her at your own grave, Ursa calls another duplicate spirit to fight by her side. The confusion of multiple Ursas will mean nothing as long as you are able to defeat them all. Place a Shadow Man as indicated. Oh, I guess he was indicated over here. King Bane's quarters are not furnished for battle, but you mean to hold Ursa here, where she can hurt no one but your small fellowship. All terrain can be used as normal. Having guessed the correct culprit, your quick thinking is giving you an edge in this battle. Each hero may prepare 1 card from their discard pile. Oh. We'll put the might back up there because we've got a attack test coming up here. So how nasty is she? Gimli's all that's left. How about that guy? Fake Ursa. Or is that fake Ursa? They're both the same. Okay. Guessing we probably have to kill them both. We will move to be next to this one. Then we're going to use our Iron Hills Battle Axe, which requires a might test. Getting 4 cards. All right, we've got 2 successes. Gives us 6 hits. It's not going to be enough to kill it even if we added another. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can the enemy attack back? Oh yeah, of course. Shadow Man seems to waver in and out of existence. Only corporal at the moment. So, while wit negates, we can still use our might because of our ring mail. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We get 2 successes. We'll make that 3 and 4, and our ready defense gets us 5, so we have taken that hit. And that will end our action phase. So into the shadow phase. Each hero gains an inspiration. We both have room for it. All right. So he wants to move on. Ignoring. Moving one gives him no targets. So no target. Spectre strides through the air. Move 2 spaces towards the closest hero, ignoring terrain and black borders. So that can get him to either one, so we will choose that to be Gimli to attack. Or to move next to anyway. Threat increases by 4. Hissing, Ursa tries to dash to the door of the king's chambers, but Gimli blocks her just in time. Gimli suffers 3 damage with, we'll move this over here now. With his might negating, if he suffers any damage this way, Gimli then becomes emboldened. So we get 4, we're trying to block 3. I've got 1 success, 2 success. We're going to block it anyway. And then rally phase. Scouting 2. See what kind of good fighty things we can get here. Let's see, when you attack, you may spend any amount of fate to add an equal number of hits. Yep, we like that. We'll prepare and put this on the bottom. And over here, scouting 2. At the end of your turn, you may discard the skill to perform an action that you have not performed yet this turn. Don't think that's going to help us with anything. We'll just put both of those on the bottom. And continue. All right, let me see. How nasty was she again? Yeah, so applying 3 hits and pierce to a nearby enemy really doesn't do anything with our falcon. But we are going to start with Legolas. He's going to take 2 actions. First action is shooting at Ursa with his bow. And if needed, he's got his cloak, so it's an agility test, which we have an agility of 4. And wow. Forgot we were hidden. We can add a success with that. We're going to go ahead and play that to discard any number of cards from a test and reveal that many additional cards. We'll keep Time of Need, discarding those 3. So there's a success. Okay. So with the hidden, we're up to 3 successes. And then we'll go ahead and spend 1 to get 4 successes. And with 4 successes, we get 5 hits and cleave, 2 hits and 2 hits. So we're going to get 9 hits and cleave out of this. All right, applying that. The enemy cannot attack us back because we're ranged. So then for our second action, we are going to shoot again. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 3 successes. So 7 hits and cleave. All right, remove Ursa. Your nearby hero gains an inspiration. We are going to give that to Gimli. See, the shadow Ursa falls, hissing into nothingness. There's another Ursa still to defeat. So that means Gimli will be fighting this. Going in with his axe, getting 4. 2 successes. We can make it 3 successes. So that will equal 9 hits. We're going to be 1 short. Let's see. Yeah, we've got nothing else to do with that. So we'll apply that. We can get hit back. Agility negates, which is a 2 for us. All right, we can stop 1 and 2 because of that. So we'll just take the 2 wounds. First one, short of breath, discard all of your boons, then flip this face down. We don't have any boons. And the second one, flip 1, And, all right, flip a damage in a fear that we don't have face up, then discard this card. Technically, these get shuffled. And just flip it back face down. All right, second action. We will attack again. 4 cards. We're just going to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 successes, which will be 8, 11 hits. Probably could have done that last turn. Oh well. And 11, make sure I did that right. Yes, we had 4, so 6, 7, 8, plus 3, and Sunder. And I believe that means we have a dead Ursa. Remove Ursa. You or a nearby hero gains an inspiration. We'll make that us. You land a particularly well-placed blow, hitting Ursa between the joints of her spectral armor. The spirit begins to fade, a hand to her wound, doubled over as if in pain. The room darkens, the fire dimming to embers. Ursa hisses, her voice low with rage. Not yet. She whips her head up, her eyes burning like coals. I will not be denied. Place Ursa as indicated. Hey, she's coming back. So now she is there. But that was all of our actions. So ending the action phase. We each gain an inspiration. Move 3, ignoring attacking Gimli, if possible. Very possible. Spirit negates, and we're fine with that because that's 4 for us. If you suffer any fear from this attack, discard an inspiration. Ooh, that's not good. So we make that 2 and 3 that we're blocking from this. And we'll block all the fear. So we're going to take 3 damage from that, which will take us to 5. Our limit is 6. 1, 2, 3. Deplete one of your items without resolving its effect. They crushed one of our tokens off of our silver circlet, so now we just have 1 left on it. And keep this card face up. Decrease each of your stats by 1. At the end of your turn, flip this card face down. And knocked prone. Deplete one of your items. All right. So it was crushed and knocked away, so our circlet is useless to us. But then we discard this, so we're going to have 3 permanents, and that goes away at the end of our turn. Threat goes up by 4. Suddenly Ursa is still. Nothing in the King's Chambers moves, but you start to feel dizzy and sick. The weakness invades your body, and Ursa laughs as her power brings you to your knees. Each hero shuffles 1 weakness into their deck. All right, Legolas gets burdened. And over here, haunted. Then the rally phase. So scouting 2. So Gimli. gains a Poet's Heart. Before you interact with the person token, gain an inspiration, but the rest too is going to come in handy. So we will get rid of Clever Wit. And we will put that on top so we know we have a success coming. And for Legolas, two cards, Undying Might and Precise Strike. Yeah, we'll put the success on top. And did I shuffle? Yes, hidden shouldn't be in there. That means there's probably another card in there that shouldn't be there too. Yep, there it is. All right. Action phase. We will start with Legolas because he likes shooting into people in combat. Oh goodness. We need 6 just to start doing damage. All right, so 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 2 successes. We're going to make it 4 successes. And we're going to add 2 more hits. So with the 4 successes, we'll get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hits. Plus 2 from this, so 11 plus cleave. Oops, just 11. And confirm that. Can the enemy attack? No. And then try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we will spend 2 to get 3 successes, which will get us 7 hits in cleave. Which barely gets through all the armor. And no. All right, Gimli, good luck. So his might is just 3. So is it worth him even attacking? We'll try at least 1 attack. We can get 2 successes, which is just 6 hits. Which isn't going to do anything. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So knowing that, we're not going to spend. Can the enemy attack? Sure can. Agility negates. Our agility is normally 2, but we're -1 because of that. We got 1 success. That means it's 2 successes. We'll take 3 fear. And 1 damage. Flip one face up, then flip this face down. And nothing happens there. So we're at 5 out of 6. Flip that face down. Each other hero suffers 1. then discard this. So this goes to Legolas, which is flip face down and face down. So we're 2 out of 4 on that. And he's going to choose not to take his second action. And then, with his Poet's Heart, discard at the end of your turn to discard 2 face down damage or fear. And I guess we officially get to shuffle these. Guess we can do that in any order. We're going to get rid of 2. Okay. So end turn. Each hero gains an inspiration. Threat increases by 4. Now with Ursa's power to twist the minds of the living, you do not trust anyone. Each hero flips 2 fear face up. Then each enemy moves 1 space, ignoring walls to be nearby a hero if possible. I mean, already nearby. So that does nothing. And those do nothing. All right, rally phase. Scouting 2. I almost feel like I just need to armor up Gimli and not attack with him, and hope Legolas can eventually shoot him before our threat goes too far. Those aren't going to help. So we'll prep Undying Might, or prepare. And over here, let's see, Time of Need, and we'll put that on the bottom. All right, action phase, starting with Legolas, shooting into here. Top 4 cards, we get 1 success. It's not worth doing damage, and that can't attack back, so we'll go to action 2. 4 cards. And that's even worse. Oh, wait. If you did not reveal any successes, you may discard this skill to convert all fate to successes, so that counts as 3 successes. Which means we will have 7 hits in cleave. Cleave doesn't do anything. All right, down to 14. All right, Gimli's going to attempt at least once. Attacking. Ugh. Well, that was disaster. With 2 successes, we can get up to 3 successes with Undying Might. And that does 8 hits. So we're just going to keep it at 1 and do nothing. Well, 2. Apply 2 hits, which did nothing, and we get hit back. Might negate. After this attack, discard all boons and move Ursa to the closest space without a hero. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We negate 3, 4, and 5. So we'll just take the 1 fear. Discard an inspiration, then flip this card face down, and we don't have any. And then she wants to move there. And then for our second action, we will follow. All right, done. Shadow phase. Gain some inspiration. Threat. Ursa may not have killed King Bane outright, but her plot put all of you in peril. Each hero tests wisdom. Each hero who fails suffers fear equal to the number of their prepared cards. Uh-oh. Well, we'll go over here. He's got a 3. And we can spin 1 to succeed. All right, wisdom of 2. We are not going to make it. We have 3 prepped cards. So flip face down. Gloom. And suffer 1 face down fear, then flip this card face down. Keep this card face up. Wait. Oh, it's face down. That's what we suffered there. All right, so now we have a whole bunch of fear over our limit. So we're going to go into here, confirm a last stand with Gimli. Damage or fear, it is fear. He needs to test his wisdom of 2, needing 1 success, and we can spin for that one. So we pass, discard all face down, gain an inspiration, and continue the adventure. All right, reset and scout 2. So it's looking grim here. Undying Might and Kinship. Before a nearby hero test, you may discard the skill for that hero to reveal 2 additional cards. If they are a dwarf, you may scout 1. Yep, we'll prep that. And over here, to cards. Dynamite. Let's see. We'll just put the success on top and prep that. Action phase. Starting with Legolas. Shooting into here. 4 cards. 1 success. We can get up to 3 by spending everything we've got, which would be 7, which just does 1 damage, so we're going to say no. And then, before a nearby hero test, discard this to have them reveal 2 additional cards. Not a dwarf. So 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Wow. 2 successes. And no way to boost. That was terrible. Oh, that's not going to hurt either. So then we move on to Gimli, who's just going to get smacked in the head. But we need to get some damage dealt. So he'll try at least once and get 3 successes. Which will make 9 hits. And yes, we can get hit back with Spirit negating, which is 4. Oh, nice. So we got 3, so we got 4 successes. So we'll just take 2 fear. Blocking 3 and 1. You and each nearby hero suffers a damage, then discard this card. Alright, we'll go Gimli first. Discard face up. When you perform the travel action, move a fewer space. After your rest, flip it face down. And then for Legolas, Deep Bruise, discard 2 prepared cards or suffer 2 face down. Then discard. And just Gloom. All right. We are going to pass, not use his second action. Shadow phase. Each hero gains an inspiration. So this turn is probably do or die. Rally phase. Scouting 2. So we've got to get super lucky on this turn. Start of your turn, you may discard to add 2 hits. Doesn't count as an attack. But I think we're going to help survive and use that as a success. Over on this side, see. I think we want to be emboldened. Okay. So starting with Legolas. During your turn, you may remove the skill from the adventure for you and another dwarf to become emboldened. So at the end of your turn, if there are no nearby enemies, discard this. If we suffer, we can discard this boon. But when you attack, add 2 hits. All right, so shooting in. We've got 4 cards. We have 3 successes. We are going to make that 4 successes. With 4 successes, we are going to get 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hits because of the embolden. And with 11 hits, of course, it prevents 6 of them. And cancel. We did cleave, which I don't think does anything. All right, got it down to 6. The enemy cannot attack back, so we're not taking damage, which means we keep the embolden. We shoot in again and see if we can get that lucky one more time. Nope. We can get up to 2, which gives us 5 hits plus the emboldened. Which I guess we have to do. So that's going to get us the 5 hits and cleave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and cleave. And because we're emboldened, we get to add 2 hits. So that's actually doing 1 damage. And now it's all on Gimli. With 1 little inspiration. All right, so he's got to attack. He's emboldened for now. Oh yes, the entangled. Not going to do anything. 2, 3, 4. 2 successes. We're going to make it 3 successes. Plus 2 hits. So 3 successes gets us 9 hits, plus 2 up to 11. And that looks like it is just enough to defeat Ursa. We will inspire himself. Ursa screams, fading into nothingness, her darkness lifting from the room like dawn rising after night. In the aftermath, King Bane commends you. Thank you, heroes. Your counsel was indispensable. Without you, the culprit would have remained by my side as a pawn to Ursa's scheme. The heroes win. Each hero gains 4 experience, and lore increases by 4. We barely made it out of that one. So King Bane smiles. I must thank you for advising me to take my medicine. Even now I feel my strength returning. Give you my personal honor and friendship for what you have done for Dale by saving me cannot be measured. So that is going to be everything for this. So we can see next, chapter 7, we are into the catacombs. So as always, hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.